Hello, everyone. Welcome to the What's New in V8 webcast. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going over all the new features in Goverlan version 8. We're going to help you get familiar with them and where to find some of the new features in version 8. For anyone who has not upgraded to version 8, you can request some information by going to sales@goverlan.com. Send an email, and we can help you get started with Goverlan 8. If you haven't had a chance to touch version 8 yet, this is a good chance to see all the new features and see the things that you're going to be able to do. This webcast is kind of designed for those who've already had an experience with Goverlan before. But if you haven't used Goverlan before, don't worry. Just go through with the webcast here, and you'll learn a lot about actually using Goverlan. It's worth noting that next week we will be we'll be performing some webcasts designed more for new users of Goverlan. You can find some more information out on our website if you go to goverlan.com, and there will be a tab on the side that says View Upcoming Events. So make sure you head over to that so you can get some information on the sessions that we'll be doing next week. But this one here is really designed to get everyone familiar with all the new features, everything that we've added to version 8. What I'm going to be doing is demonstrating all the features and showing you some configuration options. The way we're going to do this is we're going to do 30 minutes of presentation. At the end of the 30 minutes, I'm going to open it up for a 15-minute Q&A. What you can do is type your questions into the chat box, and then during the Q&A session, I will read them out loud and then answer them for you. This webcast is going to be recorded, and everyone is going to receive a recap along with a link to view this recorded webcast. You can pass that along to anyone else who you may want to see this or who has missed it. So with that being said, we're going to get started. So some of the first things that we're going to go over in this webcast is the SUREDATA feature. So I'm going to skip through some slides here really quick just to jump to the SUREDATA spot. So here, the first thing we're going to go over is SUREDATA technology. So what is SUREDATA technology? That's the key here. We get a lot of questions on this asking to explain what you can do with SUREDATA. Why do you need it? So the way it works is if you have your traditional configuration management system or administration system, what they tend to do is they have agents that report to a database. And the database will store the information so that someone who needs to view it can view it later on. This is good for reporting, and this is good for when you actually need to see the information. But the component that you're missing is the real-time aspect. The ability to get data from machines when they're online. And this is something that Goverlan's been doing for many years. What we do is we query the machine, get information back, and either build reports or give you any information that you need based on a live query. The problem is when the machines are offline, you won't be able to get to that data. So what we've done is we've created a hybrid system. And the hybrid system will allow you to get the accuracy of the online systems and the availability of being backed up by a database. So one of the key parts of that is if you do a scope action with Goverlan that you run a report and you want to get data back from the machines, Goverlan will retrieve the information from the live systems, and for the machines that are offline, it'll take the latest snapshot from the database, but it'll give it to you in one report. And that also goes for just querying system information and so on. So that's one of the things that we're going to demonstrate. We're also going to go over some of the remote control new features, such as all the new protocols that we've added, as well as the Fast Connect feature. Some things to note that you will not necessarily be able to see, but it's important to note, is that we've enhanced the encryption package. So now we are also talking AES 256. So we've stepped up as far as the encryption package goes, as well as IPv6 support. So those are some of the things that happen in the background for Goverlan that we've also enhanced with version 8. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go right into the demonstration. The first thing we're going to go and do is we are going to start talking about short data and actually see what it does and see how to set it up and start using it. So the first thing we'll do is a short data configuration. Let's talk a little bit about the configuration. Short data is a database. It is something that will reside on a machine or a server, something that you can that Goverlan will be able to store the data in as time goes by. However, what we've done is, like much of the other parts of Goverlan, we've made it very easy to use and set up. By default, Goverlan will store the short data database as a SQLite file. So if you go to Settings and then Database Settings here, you'll see where you can actually configure the short data database. And by default, what's going to happen is Goverlan will save it as a SQLite file. This is a very small file. You can collect information on thousands of machines, and it will remain relatively small. Anywhere on any server would never really have a problem with it. So the key here to be able to share this information with the other Goverlan users is to make sure that everybody's pointing to the same database folder path. Now, in this case here, we're using the shared data directory, which a lot of other Goverlan users may have been using. And in this case, Goverlan will automatically detect that and store one copy of the file in the shared data directory. So any other Goverlan user who has the shared data directory will also be pointing to the SQL file, as long as it's got the same name. This is the key right here. So the other option, if you are looking to scale up your short data experience and be able to handle maybe more than 10 to 15 Goverlan users accessing the database, is to switch it to a SQL Server type. And what we do here is when you switch it over to SQL Server, you can name the database, name the server in the instance, and decide how you want to authenticate. The first Goverlan user that does this will actually be in process of creating the database. Once you hit OK here, Goverlan will reach out with the authentication settings that you specify, create the database, set it all up for you. It's literally a 1, 2, 3 process. There's nothing that you actually have to do on the SQL Server itself except get the authentication right. Just make sure you can authenticate to it. We also give you a flag here to enable the short data database. So if you uncheck this here, you'll stop collecting information. And in the advanced settings button here, we can take a look at all of the attributes that we're collecting on the machines themselves. So here in the inventory type column, you can basically see everything that short data will be collecting from when the machines are queried live. We've got basically everything in here that you're used to using in Goverlan. And you can actually reset the tables here or turn them on and off. In this case, if I disabled any one of these, we would stop collecting database information on that machine. This is really granular controls if you really want to get in there and decide how you want to configure your database. For the most part, you can leave everything default here, and you won't have any issues. So that's how you actually configure short data. So once you have this part set up, either you're using the SQLite file or SQL Server, Goverlan will begin to store information into this file. So let's see how that actually works. First, we'll start off with a demonstration in administration and diagnostic here. So I'm going to take a look at some machines in our lab. And these machines here all are on the in our network and on our domain. So as anyone queries a machine live, so if I come to this machine here and query system information, right now what Goverlan is doing is retrieving the information so I can see it, and then also storing a copy into the database. So while this information is stored into the database automatically, you really don't have to see any of those actions. It's not going to slow it down or anything. The copy gets sent there very quickly, and then you're presented with your live information. So as the Goverlan user, you really don't know anything that's happening in the background. So as I query this information live, a copy is stored into the database. So I can now close this here, And what I can also do is, let's say we will simulate this machine being offline. So what I'll do is let's say I'll unplug the NIC. So what I've done to that machine is I've actually disabled the network interface, so we can actually simulate it being offline. So I'm going to hit refresh list here, and you'll see what you're used to seeing when a machine is offline in Goverlan. The icon is grayed out because it's no longer pingable. But another thing you used to see in Goverlan is when you double-click system information for any machine that was offline, you couldn't get any of the data. So what we're showing you here is the snapshot that we took when we actually queried it live. So here we can see all the information that we had before. And what we're doing is we're reading it from the database, as you can see here at the flag at the top. So the historical data flag is going to let you know that you're talking to SUREDATA. It's going to let you know the time of the snapshot, so that you know how old the data is that's in there. And this right away gives you the advantage over some of the other real-time systems. Is you're still being able to access information whether the machine is online or offline. Now, one of the things that is usually asked is, well, this only happens on demand. So if I query a machine live, that will be the time that the snapshot goes in. But what if I never queried a specific machine? The answer to that is going into scope action. So here in scope action, you can create a scope action that does a basic report. I've created one here that says SUREDATA refresh action. So what this will do is it will run the report action against all of the machines and store that information into the database, because scope action is also a part of SUREDATA. Whenever you do a report with scope action, all of the live information also gets saved back into the database. So these are some of the ways that SUREDATA is going to allow you to access the machines, whether they're online or offline. You can run a scope action that's on a schedule, and it will keep the information in the database fresh for you. So the other part of scope action, the other part of SUREDATA is the scope action reports and what that actually looks like. So now we've requested data from one of our machines that we know is offline. So how does that work if we're trying to do a report on multiple machines? Well, what we'll do is we'll actually create a new scope action, and we will call this inventory report, because we want to get an inventory of a series of machines on our network. I'm going to click next here and add some machines to it. So anyone familiar with scope actions knows that you can add machines through OUs and AD sites and IP ranges and so on. I'm just going to add a few different machines here just so we don't end up with a large list. We're going to add the machine that we know is offline. Let's start with that. We'll use our new little search feature here. We've also added this search feature to all of our select target boxes. So what Goverlan is going to do now is add that machine to our scope module, and then we'll also add a few more. So maybe we'll add Del A. This is another machine we have in our network. Oh, did we forget to add the last one? Yeah, I think we did. Okay. So these are two machines that we have in our list. Of course, you can target this to an OU and so on. But for simplicity, I'm just going to add these two machines here. The first machine is online. The second one, actually, that's the wrong one. We want 64. Here we go. And we'll do a search just to add the object from AD. So the first two machines are online, and the last one, the one that says 7X64-1, is actually offline. So we have three machines here in our scope module that we want to pull the inventory from. We're going to click Next, and of course add some report actions. So we'll do report computer property. Let's do something easy. Let's do some software reports. And let's grab product name, product version, code ID, and key. So we're grabbing this information from the machines. So we specified a range of machines, some that are online and one that's offline. And I'll show you how the scope action reports behave when it's going to sense that when the machines are offline. So I'll click Finish. Here on our new exit wizard, we're going to select Run Now and do nothing after it's done. This is in case you want to schedule some repeating actions. In this case, we just want to do it once. So I'll click Finish. And now what you see is Goverlan running the report and querying the information. And here's our report. So this is part of the new report templates. We're using an HTML5-based report template system here, which means that we have some nice search capability, such as instant text. So if I type Adobe here, anything that has Adobe in it will show up. If I type Microsoft, anything that has Microsoft will show up. In this case, we're also searching for a machine that was offline. So let's see what happens with this machine. So we know this machine was offline, and what we see here is this time symbol. And what this time symbol is letting us know, again, we're pulling from the SUREDATA database. So there's not going to be any more times where you have a range of machines that you need to pull data from, and some of the machines are offline, so you can't get information from those. And we're also presenting it to you slightly different than some of the older systems, which you just completely pull everything from the database regardless of what time that the machines last pulled. So you're not sacrificing, again, the accuracy, which you get with the real-time systems, from the availability, which you're getting with the completely database-driven systems. So this is going to really expand and make sure that you're getting everything that you need to get through Goverlan, especially in the reporting and the administration and diagnostic side. So that's our high-level overview of what SUREDATA is and how you can actually use it. Okay. Just as a reminder, I'm going to be answering all the questions at the end, so feel free to post all of your questions into the chat session, and I'll go right down the list and we'll answer all your questions. So the next part we're going to go over are the enhancements to remote control. This is a pretty big part of what version 8 is. All of the enhancements to remote control. What we've done is we've added a ton of new protocols. We've added a feature called Fast Connect, which for some who are familiar with administration and diagnostics, you're going to recognize what this is right away. We've also enhanced the power options capabilities, and we've added some new workspace management features. So let's go from the top on that one. So here's Goverlan Remote Control. Anyone who's used it, you're pretty familiar with the interface. We've changed the color scheme a little bit, but if you're the kind of person that likes the old style, you can definitely go back to that. Here, we've given you a little retro. We'll call that Goverlan Retro. So some of the new things, the new protocols that we're supporting. So you're already used to the Goverlan protocol. You've already known that we have embedded RDP, and we've actually enhanced this to now include network level authentication. So the new NLA-based RDP sessions you'll be able to remote control as well, and good old-fashioned VNC. So that'll get you into your Mac, your Linux machines, and anything else that supports VNC. What we've added are the Intel vPro features, which we're very excited about this. Through Goverlan, you'll be able to harness many of the vPro features that you might either already have in some existing machines, or if you're planning on refreshing your machines and getting some new ones, I would suggest that you get vPro SKUs from your manufacturer. So what we're doing with vPro is we're giving you the KVM functionality out of band, so you don't need your operating system anymore. for remote control. We're also giving you the ISO CD image mounting, which comes in really handy when your operating system is belly up and you have to get into a machine and do some diagnostics or kick off an imaging process. And we're also going into the Intel vPro power options. So the ability to power up machines, shut them down, all through vPro, which just not to be confused with Wake-on-Lan. We're talking a completely different beast here. We're talking directly to the hardware, to the chip that's on the machine, the vPro chip, and we are shutting them down, waking them up, rebooting them to BIOS, and so on. So we're going to go through those things as well. We've also embedded our much-loved command line feature right into remote control here, and we also now do Telnet and SSH for those jack-of-all-trades that also have to jump into network switches and or Linux servers and so on. You'll be able to do that through Goverlan. So the first thing we're going to go over is some vPro capability. So here is our Connect to screen for vPro. You've got a few options. These are the options that are supported through vPro. We've brought them right here to you in the connection screen. You have vPro redirection and VNC standard port for vPro. So for any of you who do not know, the vPro KVM feature is provided through a built-in VNC-based VNC daemon that runs on the vPro chip. Intel vPro redirection gives you all of the enhanced features of the KVM stuff that VNC doesn't give you, such as the TLS configuration, so to make sure you want anything encrypted, the fast call for help features, and so on. So for the most part, to use all the features, you're going to want to keep it on vPro. Now, Logon Information. vPro can be integrated to Active Directory, or it cannot be. You can have your own separate vPro-based authentication list that you configure right on the vPro machines. Goverlan supports both. If you have Active Directory integrated vPro, which is what I suggest in large environments, then Goverlan will do what it's always does. It's use your either alternate credential or the credential of the machine that you're logged into. Your network credentials, and that makes it really, really nice to remote control these machines and not have to worry about password prompts and so on. So we're going to do a KVM connection to a vPro machine that we have. I'm going to hit connect here, and we're going to start our vPro connection. So right now, I am remote controlling a machine that's vPro enabled, completely out of band. What that means is without the help of the operating system or the Goverlan agent. So here it just works like any other remote control based system. You have a little indicator up here at the top in the top right that shows that the session is being remote controlled. I'm just going to close that out there. So we have our standard remote control out of band system. Now, to really have some fun with it, what we're going to do is jump into our new power option screen. Our new power option screen is a nice little dashboard that gives you the status of your remote control session. This does not have to be only vPro. What you'll see in a machine that doesn't have vPro is that it'll say AMT status not ready here, but everything else will work. It'll tell you if the Goverlan agent's ready, the ping time, as well as if the machine is powered on or not. Through this power screen, we can manage auto login. So if you have any auto admin login settings that you want to apply, you can do that here, or reboot the machine and make sure it logs in the next time as a user. You can do that there. Here, wherever you see the AMT flag, those are the vPro features. So here I can restart to BIOS or restart to mounted image. In this case, I'm going to restart to BIOS first. So I'm going to tell the machine to reboot, and it will go into its BIOS. So here you see, again, we're outside of the operating system. We are starting up right into the BIOS, and we have full control of the BIOS. We could do whatever we want here. This also supports the new UEFI-based BIOS, so you can go into those systems as well, or those settings. It sounds pretty simple, but anyone who's dealing with remote control knows this is a huge help for anyone dealing with issues that you just cannot deal with the operating system for. So I have our remote control into the BIOS here. What we're also going to try to do now is reboot to a mounted image. So a mounted image would allow us to supply some sort of ISO that will do something for us. So in this case, I'm going to tell it to restart to a mounted image. I'm going to select a diagnostic CD that I have here and hit execute. So now we're talking directly to the AMT chip, and we're telling it to reboot to a mounted image. And Goverlan is now telling us that up here. And let's close this and see what it's doing in the back. So here is the image that I've mounted to. This is could be any number of diagnostic CDs, memory checking, hard drive checking, OS CDs. You can actually, mount a Windows OS CD here if you needed to get into some of the repair options of Windows and so on. But again, we're not dealing with the operating system. This is what makes vPro so important. We're here at the point where we can do basically anything we want as if we were in front of the machine. So as if we were in front of the machine, it is important to note that these power options are just like using the power buttons in front of the machine. So in this case here, I'm going to do a restart. It's like going to the machine and pressing the restart button. And what you'll also see is that Windows doesn't like that too much. So these aren't graceful shutdowns. That's an important thing to note. Right now, that's what vPro supports. In the next version of vPro, you will be able to do a graceful shutdown. So here we're booting back up into Windows, and what we've gone over were the vPro features, the ISO mounting, the KVM, and the power options, all controllable now through Goverlan version 8. We're trying to bring those vPro features to the surface so that people can actually use them in a manner that makes sense. So some of the other things we'll go over are the other protocols. So I'm going to disconnect here, and let's jump into some other things. We have our simple Windows command prompt. Let's just choose a machine. Let's say, let's go to one of our lab machines. Let's mess around with the server. So here, this is what you're used to in the other command line aspects of Goverlan, except we're bringing it to you in the tabs. So now you can have a command line window there, and then I can come here and do, let's say, jump into my vPro session here, and then let's jump into a remote control session here, standard Goverlan remote control. Now, one of the things I mentioned before that we were going to go over is called Fast Connect. What is Fast Connect? Fast Connect is basically what you're used to in administration and diagnostic, where you can detect logged-in workstations, except we're bringing it to you now in Goverlan remote control. So here I can type in, let's say, the partial username. I have to change this to user, and I will do partial username. And what Goverlan will do is it will search for the machine, for the user, and then it will tell us what machine they're logged into. So here, we're giving you the Workstation Detection feature in Goverlan remote control. So now you can see here that Goverlan has told me where the user is logged in. And why is that important? Well, anyone who works on a desk knows how time-consuming it can be if you have to ask the user where they're logged in. Sometimes it might be a sticker that's on the monitor or on the machine, which gets moved around all the time. Or you might have to walk them through a series of steps through their workstation. We can cut back on some of that communication between you and the user if you just know where they're logged in. This is something that Microsoft has never really connected the dots on for us, and we're doing that for you here in Goverlan. We're connecting the user to their sessions. It's important to note that that also works for RDP sessions. So if you're using Citrix or any other RDP-based software to get your users connected to their resources, then that will also work for that. So you'll see where they're logged in, or if it's an RDP session, physical console, virtual machine, VDI, doesn't matter. Goverlan will tell you where they are. So now we have a few different things going on. We have our command tab here. I can work on this server and see how it affects this machine, which if the operating system wasn't working, I'd be in vPro, and then jump onto this machine here and do some work as well. One of the things we've changed as far as the workspaces go is we've enhanced the float views. So if you don't want to deal in the tabbed interface here, which I often like the tabbed interface, but sometimes you have a few monitors and you want to spread your workspace around, you can right-click, float the view, move it to the side. Right-click, float the view, move it to the side. Then we can come here, float this view, move that to the side. And we can tell Goverlan, take all the views and do something with them. Make them nice and neat for me. So here's because of the monitor real estate, everything looks kind of squished, but these days, if you have at least 2 monitors, this is kind of neat because you can work on things at the same time and actually have this space. You can maximize it, move it around, and really take command of your workspace and your remote control windows this way. You can also go ahead and save the layout the same way you would save in the monitoring view. You can save this layout, save it as a file, double-click it, and it'll reload all of your floating windows the way you had them. So that's another enhancement that we've brought to Goverlan Remote Control for version 8. Another one that we have here to go over really quick is the default actions in the favorites view. So if here I can add, let's say I add, let's just add a few machines really quick. Let's say I add computer. I have a network switch. That's a network switch. I'll add that. And then I will add, let's add a regular workstation. Oh, I think that was the off one, 6-1. I can come here, right-click, and then set a default action. I know that's a network switch, so I may want to do a telnet and SSH every time here. Or this one here, as far as set default action, I can say I always want to do vPro or VNC or telnet and so on. So this is some of the enhancements that we have added to the favorites view here, and then when you right-click, you can just say open session, use the default action. So those are some of the little nuances that we've added to remote control, so that you can see in version 8 how we're trying to get command of your workspace by giving you as many protocols to connect to, by enhancing the floating views and making sure that you stay in, using that Goverlan experience so that you can control your environment in a smart way. And the last thing I'll go over is one last enhancement. Unmount that there, and do that really quick here in the Administration and Diagnostics view. We now give you an operating system column, an IP address column, and a console user column. So you know right away who's logged into what. This is just at-a-glance information we're throwing at you so that you can see what's going on in your network. Of course, you can pipe this out to reports and so on. These are the standard things that you've used in Goverlan. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the questions that we have in our chat session. Again, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat session, and what I'll do is I will read them out loud and answer them. Okay, so the first question I have is, how do you have the SUREDATA refresh scope action configured? Excellent. So I'm going to jump into that one and show you what it does. So if I go to the action module here, it's actually quite simple. What you do in this scope action is you just select all of the reporting objects that you want to be stored in the database. As long as it's configured to be stored in the database, it will when this is run. So you can just add, remove, report computer property, anything here we can add, environment variables we can add, extended AD properties. No, that's not stored in there because that's Active Directory. Anything on local drives, logged in users, all the things that I have highlighted here, as well as some extras like remote control session history. You basically want to just load up your scope action with all of the report options, and then next time it runs, it'll keep that information into the database. So you can schedule it so that way what you can do at the end is you'll always have some data in the SUREDATA database. So you configure your scope action, add the report items, and schedule it. That's basically what you want to do to keep SUREDATA nice and refreshed. And you schedule it to operate at the frequency that you want. Next question I have, any changes in the AD integration? Not necessarily. We're doing still everything that we've done before, which is, your standard AD OU views, the ability to add and remove any, objects that you have there, whatever your permission to do, you'll be able to do there. The only thing we're really adding in this case here are these 3 columns and the ability to do things like filter selection and so on. So most of the stuff that's for the administration and diagnostic side, it's really usability and visual things, not so much as far as the AD integration in the background. Next question I have, upgrading from V7 to V8. When is it already in place with AD integration? Anything to look for pre-install requirements? So the short answer to that is no. There's no real pre-installation requirements from going to V7 to V8. V7 and V8 can operate simultaneously side by side. That's because the V7 agent and the V8 agent are completely separate. So in that case, there's no real cut over. There's nothing that you need to migrate over. And also because of the SUREDATA database, a lot of the objects that we used to store in a file, such as the software products or the software packages, batch and script packages, and so on, now get stored into the database. So now that information is in the database, you'll have to recreate your objects in V8. I know it's a pain, but we are actually looking at ways to do it programmatically. But in the meantime, you can use them side by side and slowly recreate your objects in version 8. Let's see here. Any plans to improve the Wake-on-Lan functionality and the MAC address discovery process? Yes. What we've actually done is, again, just like I was saying, actually, before the Wake-on-Lan cache was stored in a file, and this file would never really be complete. What we're doing now is we're storing the MAC addresses in the SUREDATA database so that as long as you have SUREDATA going, you always have the MAC address as well. And as long as you have the MAC address, you can initiate your Wake-on-Lan calls without having to hope and pray that you've caught the MAC address before. Let's see. What is the does SUREDATA work with SQL Express? Yes. SUREDATA works with SQL Express. We've tested it up to SQL Server 2012 as well. So anything from the oldest one, I think, is SQL Server 2008 that it will support. So as far as the database goes, it goes from 2008 to 2012. What is the estimated growth of the database for about 8,000 PCs? For about 8,000 PCs, it does depend if you're using SQL Express or if you're using SQLite. If you're using SQLite, you're probably going to expect about 400 or 500 megabytes of a SQLite file. If you're using SQL Server, you can probably expect somewhere between maybe 700 megs around there because of the extra data that SQL actually adds to their databases. But again, these are projected numbers. Right now, we've had users, reporting in for 2,000 or 3,000 machines, less than 100 megs. So let's see, what is the estimated? No, we've done that one. Printer deployment, in my experience with V7, was a hit or miss. Can you demo an x86, x64 of a printer? Okay. I'm not going to do that one because this is really based on what's new in V8. But what we could do on this is we could do something on the side and demonstrate it next week, because what we're doing next week is everything based on each module. So we can do this for the administration and diagnostic module and the scope action module. So that is the last question that I have at the moment. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to post them there in the chat window. We still have about 5 more minutes to go. Or if there's anything else with V8 in terms of V8 features, we can definitely go over that as well. Just, again, post it in the chat session there. And just as a reminder, we'll be, if anyone is interested in taking a look at version 8, you can contact sales@goverlan.com or go to our website, and you can request information there to see if you can get yourself a copy to download, or if you need to upgrade your current license. Again, this was designed for the What's New section of version 8, so this is really going over the new features of version 8. And next week we'll be doing each module Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, administration and diagnostics, scope action, and remote control in depth. And that's really designed if you wanted to see, how some of the more requested things work, such as printer installation and so on. Do we need to upgrade the license? Yes, you need to in V7. Yes, okay, so the way it works is you're going to receive new activation codes for version 8 because the activation system is a little bit different. So at the moment, what you're going to do is request your V8 codes from sales@goverlan.com. They're going to send you the V8 codes. You can activate Goverlan and do everything you need to do there. Your V7 codes will be, eventually they will be deactivated, but you can request to hold on to them, for some time. That way you can migrate your data and move it over. How does the licensing work now? Is there a license manager? You have 60 admins, and it's hard to know. This is true. It is difficult to track down what you can, who has Goverlan licensed. This is something that we don't necessarily have because we have a third-party activation system that doesn't actually support this. But what we do have is we have a specialized scope action that we can give you, and we would be glad to help you get it set up. And what it will do is it will scan your network, tell you who has Goverlan installed and what activation code that they're using. If you need some help with that, please, send an email to support@goverlan.com, and we will definitely get you on the path to doing a discovery on your network to see who has Goverlan installed. Does version 8 support concurrent licensing? The licensing model in version 8 is the same as it was in version 7. So you are activating per machine. However, the licensing, it depends on, it will be based on who's using the machine. So if you have one Goverlan activation on a machine, but you have 5 techs, they'll just rotate on that machine. So it's still the same EULA that we had last time. Nothing really changes in version 8. Were there any changes on viewing the IP without having to go to the inside the network connection? Yes, actually, the screen that you're looking at here, Goverlan will tell you the IP address right in the administration diagnostic screen. This also goes for the favorites window. So if we go down here to favorites, Goverlan will tell you the operating system, the console user, and maybe I have the IP hidden. Let's see. Yeah, IP address. So we also capture the IP address right here in the administration diagnostic screen. And also, you can see the IP address here in the system information at the top, by the way. So you don't have to go all the way into here, and then here, and here to see the IP. Okay, so that is the end of our session here. Thank you, everyone, for all the questions that you've asked and for being with us and checking out what's new in version 8. Remember, if you have not started using version 8, you can request it through sales@goverlan.com, and they will get the process started for you. This webcast was recorded, so we will be sending a recap email in a few days with this recording, so that way you can play it back and you can go through it and see if there's anything that you needed from there. Also, feel free to participate in the Goverlan forums or in our user voice portal to vote for features and things that you'd like to see in future releases. And also, we're pretty active on Spiceworks, so if anybody wants to jump on Spiceworks and take a look at some things there, you can do so. And also, we have a YouTube channel. We have some new videos coming out soon that will also go over some of these what's new features, as well as some blogs. So all that information you can find on our website. Just go to goverlan.com and use the menu button on the side. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day, and maybe we'll see you using Goverlan. Thanks. Bye.